Sir, audio outlet, sir. Sir, no voice, sir. No audio.
Is it okay? Please confirm. Is it okay?
Audio okay, sir, now.
Is it okay now?
Oh, okay, sir. Now okay, sir. You can continue, sir. Yes, sir. Continue.
Sorry for the interruption. Sorry for the interruption. A small technical mistake. Welcome to lesson number 8, that is printing process. And today we'll also discuss lesson number 9, that is typography and composing. So lesson number 8 is about the printing process. In this lesson, we'll be discussing the principles of the letterpress, that is printing, suitability of letterpress printing, principles of the other technique, that is offset printing, and principles of gravure printing and screen printing, and of course digital printing, and budgeting and costing of the printing process we will come to know. And the objective of this lesson is to have an idea of how various publications and other printed literature are produced, and to identify a suitable printing process for each printing job, and to get the job done with the required quality and the economy, and apply this knowledge in identifying the right printer for all our printing works. Now, as already told, there are 4 major printing processes. They should be get acquainted by the PR practitioner or corporate communication manager in the day-to-day practice while editing and producing corporate publications. The 4 major are the letterpress, the offset press, the gravure press, and the screen printing press process. Of course, the latest addition to these 4, or maybe it is already 20 years with the advent of internet and computers, the digital printing has also taken place and joined these 4 processes. And if you look at the letterpress, the first one is letterpress. The nomenclature letterpress used in printing industry is so simplified that the meaning of the term can be derived from the term itself. Letter press. A letter is pressed on the paper. Therefore, you get an image. Therefore, the very process is called the letterpress in printing. So in the textbook, you were given an image of P is imposed on a paper, on a substance, having taken drawn ink from a source and transferred it onto the paper or whatever is the surface. So this is called letterpress. And what is the suitability of letterpress printing? For each process, whether it is letterpress or offset or gravure or screen printing or digital printing, we have to select the suitability of the printing process according to the job work we require. Whether you require a letterhead or a screen or a banner or a runner or a textbook or a brochure or annual report or merely invitation cards, depending upon the requirement of our work, we have to select the printing process. So what is the suitability of letterpress printing? Even though we, the PROs of the present day, may not get an opportunity to get most of the items printed by letterpress process because of its obsolescence. So letterpress we used to see some 20 years ago. Even now there are letterpress, but they are used for limited purposes only. But before the advent of other printing process, letterpress was there in vogue. So letterpress means letters are composed. The typefaces are composed into a frame, and then the ink is drawn onto the letter faces, and then it is transferred onto a paper or a card or whatever is the surface. So that is the letterpress. But these days we are not using much of letterpress because of its obsolescence. What is obsolescence? Obsolescence means outmoded. because the other things have already taken place, already they have come, they are in vogue and they are being used. Therefore, this particular letterpress has become obsolete. One such item is expensive labels or stickers. So for printing labels and stickers, still some people use the letterpress only. The PRO is looking for excellent quality multicolored labels. There is another process called, instead of letterpress, they go for UV letterpress. UV stands for ultraviolet. Generally, it is a thick ink, embossed kind of ink is transferred onto the material. And instead of letterpress, UV press is adopted because that is an improvement over the letterpress. And principles of offset printing. The first thing is letterpress, where a letter gathers ink and the impression is transferred onto the paper, whatever is the surface. Now, the second process of printing is called offset printing. The offset printing process is the one that the PR person or the journalism professional would be thinking of the day in and day out. This is because most of the printed items brought out for the use of public relations or mass communication or journalism rely on this process for because of its speed, quality, and economy. So, in the offset press, as can be seen in the textbook given image, the offset printing process is based on the simple principle of the plate cylinder receiving water and ink, where the ink remains on the image area and the water on the non-image area. The inked image is then transferred to a blanket cylinder, also called offset cylinder, because it precisely offsets. Offset means setting off. You draw the ink and water and set off onto the paper. It is because cylindrical, it keeps rotating and the image gets impressed onto the roll of paper or sheet of paper. This is offset printing. And what is the suitability of offset printing? Offset printing is said to be the most versatile process among other major printing processes. Papers of all kinds of thickness or all types of surface can be printed with consistent quality. This is the advantage and suitability of offset printing. It is this quality that makes this process popular and demanding. Anything meant for mass communication, be it poster for campaigning, or a newspaper, newsletter, house journal, brochure, pamphlet, folder, annual report, calendars, diaries are all suitable for offset printing. All the papers used for these types of works vary in their thickness or their surface finish, whether it is glossy or rough, whatever it is. This process prints with ease on all types of papers without compromising on quality. Now, gravure printing. The third printing process is gravure printing. Engrave. Gravure means engrave. This is a major printing process. It needs to be understood for the fact that it renders the best quality of print, particularly where illustrative publications. Illustrative publications means publications with both text and illustrations, maybe images. It is based on the principle that unlike the earlier processes, that is letterpress and offset press, the image here is etched or engraved on a cylinder, which is totally immersed in liquid ink in an ink fountain. The liquid ink flows into the engraved. Engraved means engraved images, etched images, as well as on the non-image areas also. However, the excess ink from the non-image area is wiped out by a blade called doctor blade because it cures. After the ink is removed, the paper comes in contact with the cylinder where the ink is transferred onto the paper and you get images. If it is text, text. If it is image, image, whatever it is. And what is the suitability of this gravure printing? Engraving. Gravure printing is economically viable only when print requirements is to the tune of many thousands or lakhs of copies. So that way, PROs or mass communication experts employed with organizations which go in for mass circulation of illustrated publications can think of this process. If a tourism department desires a lot of difficulties, this is called distraction. If a tourism department desires to print a million posters or folders or brochures of tourist places which look appealing and inviting, gravure process would be ideal. So, a large quantity of printing uh, we can go for gravure printing. Nevertheless, an important point to be noted with regard to gravure printing is that this is the most timely, widely used process. Now, what is the principle? What are the principles of the screen printing? You know, screen printing, mostly we resort to screen printing for printing the visiting cards or invitation cards or even wedding cards. As the name implies, it is a nylon cloth with fibers interwoven like a mesh or a screen, is used as an image carrier in the process. This is the only process where the ink goes through the image area, whereas in all the other processes discussed earlier, the ink is transferred from the image area. Now, what is the suitability of this screen printing? Screen printing is the only process which affords the freedom to print on any surface of any size and shape. A PR practitioner or a corporate communication manager uh, generally depends on this process extensively when the needs to print various items ranging in size, material, surface, or anything he desires. You name the object and it is feasible to print by this process. Screen means there will be a screen, a perforated through a device, and then a ink is passed through it. It is there will be um, there will be a squeezer. It will squeeze the ink onto the surface of the paper or cloth or a glossy surface, whether it is plastic or glass, whatever it is. Now, what is digital printing? So far, we have learned about letterpress, offset press, gravure press, and screen printing press. The fifth one is digital printing. Digital printing describes the process of transferring a document on a personal computer or other digital storage device to a printing substrate. The surface is called substrate by means of a device that accepts text and graphic output. Now, let us go to the suitability of digital printing. What is the suitability? These days, everything has been digital because of its convenience, because of its speed, and because it is economical too. Now, what is the advantage of digital printing? As I told you, it is cost effective. Without the need to create a plate for every image, without the need for setting the typefaces, without need for engraving as in the gravure printing. So it can be printed uh, in small quantities and also in large quantities, and still it is cost effective. The second advantage of digital printing is it is faster than other forms of printing. Each offset print run takes a long time to set up the machine. For setting up the machine, it takes time. But in digital printing, it is already composed into the one document, whatever is the document, and it is stored in the computer, and the computer is connected to a printer. If it is a color printer, and if you give a command, you will get the prints. So that is faster in nature and greener. The elimination of an image carrier automatically leads to saving of all the other printing material. In other printing techniques, lot of ink is being wasted, lot of material should be thrown out. So, and that causes environmental pollution. But in digital printing, that is avoided. So it is greener in the sense. Now, personalization and or customization is also possible. So in digital printing, everything has been custom. Everything can be customized. Everything can be personalized. Whatever you want, you can design. So budgeting and costing. So it is important for the PR practitioner and corporate communication managers to keep in mind the budget and the cost. So budget, you discuss with the management, whatever. One indication is that, one easy technique is that you go to the previous year, and for that particular work, your organization might have spent something for so many copies. So that will become a yardstick for you to proceed further. So it serves the purpose of budgeting and also the costing. And what is costing? Generally, what is costing? It is an estimation. It is an estimation. You will be asking for estimates from each printer. Maybe you select 2 or 3 or 4 printers and take estimates from them. And whichever is the lowest, you will go for that. And without compromising in the print and the quantity and the quality of the output. And then sometimes you also take for invoice, pro forma invoice. Pro forma invoice is for the payment, for the purpose of payment. So after this printing process is over, let us move on to the next subject, that is typography and composing. Typography and composing. What is typography? It is a part of pre-press process. Typography, what is the object? Typography, you will look into the brief history of printing, the role of typography, what is a font, what is a type, what is a face, and its definition and its classification, use of different fonts, different kinds of works, and what is composing, what is typesetting. Now, the objective of this lesson is to explain the history of the printing, discuss the role of typography, describe the font, expound the use of font for different kinds of works, then describe the composing and typesetting. If you look into the history of printing, it would make the student or a public relations practitioner to have empathy of how difficult it was to print for centuries, to compare it with the printing today. It is almost a history of 600 years. If you look at the overview, right from Gutenberg till the latest 20th century, it has passed through several stages. Like human faces, even types also have faces, and they also have expression also. And you might have listened about sans sheriff, sheriff and sans sheriff. Sheriff means some kind of a design given to the letter so that it looks good when printed. Sans means without, minus. So sans serif, they're all families. You have a families, and generally 4 kinds of typefaces are used even in printing. That is Times New Roman and Helvetica, Arial, and Verdana. Several kinds of typefaces. They all belong to a particular family. Just like we have ABDC's capitals, ABCD capitals, ABCD, second ABCD, third ABCD, fourth ABCD. Similarly, even in typefaces also, you have several kinds of families. As I told you, generally 4 kinds of faces are used for typing. They are also used for official purposes as well as legal printing also. And if you look at the brief history of printing, it is generally believed that after the invention of mechanical movable type by John Gutenberg, maybe he lived in 13th, 14th and 15th centuries. Printing started and turned out to be a revolution. Earlier, there used to be handwritten process. It is widely regarded as the most important event of the modern period. Printing played a key role in the development, that is in Renaissance period, the Reformation period, and in the age of Enlightenment also. And because of the scientific revolution, today the printing we are seeing the revolutionary printing, revolution in colors. There used to be only basic colors. Now there are innumerable hundreds and thousands of colors that can be used for printing. The invention of printing transformed the possibilities of the written word. Printing seems to have been first invented in China in 6th century. Some people say even before that, in the first century BC or first century AD. Some people say it is in China. Some people say it is in papyrus or somewhere. The Chinese invented, as far as the history goes, the Chinese invented movable type uh, of printing in the 11th century AD, but did not fully exploit it. Other Chinese inventions, including paper, they say it is AD 105, first century AD, passed on to the Europe by the Arabs, but not, it seems, the printing. The Quran was also handwritten first. It was not allowed to be printed, but later they allowed printing because of their religious reasons. And papyrus, the paper, the name paper derived from the word papyrus. The papyrus roll of ancient Egypt is more nearly the direct ancestor of the modern book than it is in the clay tablets. The printing, the writing used to be on the clay papers, clay tablets. They are called cuneiform. That art form was called cuneiform. And then it has evolved from that clay form of cuneiform, clay bricks, till the parchments of leather and the Indian style of palm leaves and today's paper, glossy paper, shiny paper, or whatever is the paper, whatever is the substrate, whatever is the surface. And we are seeing today the printing on the bottles, on the glass, on the plastic, on the iron, on the wood, on every surface you are able to be print, thanks to the evolution right from John Gutenberg, today's uh, printing process. Now, personal computer is a revolution. Although some of the printing techniques we have discussed are still used, many have been revolutionized by the invention of computers. Today, a PR student or a PR practitioner using a personal computer is simultaneously doing the jobs of an author, an editor, or a compositor. Earlier, there used to be a composer, a galley proofer, a reader, a proofreader, and several other job involvements were there. Today, with a computer in your hand, and you can both type it, you can edit it, you can be an author, you can be an editor, and you can even be a printer. Because if you give a command to the printer command, it will get printed. So, but if you go back to the press process, earlier John Gutenberg has created typefaces with wood, on wood. Later on the cast iron. Later on the metal lead. And then later the typefaces were prepared in plastic. So all these things have gone. Now it is the age of digital printing. Now, mechanized, if you look the chronology of the presses, the mechanized press in 1824, Daniel Treadwell of Boston, he first attempted to mechanize the printing. So earlier they used to be manual printers, used to be rotated by hand. Thereafter, they were mechanized using the steam engines or sometimes electrical motors. By adding gears and power to a wooden framed platen press, the bed and platen press was 4 times faster than the hand press. This type of press was used throughout the 19th century and produced high quality prints. In 1812, Frederick Koenig invented the steam-driven printing press. In 1844, Richard Hoe invented the rotary press. Rotary means it rotates. The ink evenly taken by the ink, the plate rotates wherein the ink is evenly taken by the screen or image, and then it is transferred to the substrate. Then paper and roll. In 1865, William Bullock invented the Bullock press, which was the first press to be fed by continuous paper roll. The paper used to be 5 miles long. The roll of a paper used to be 5 miles long. The press could print up to 12,000 pages per hour, and later models could produce 30,000 pages. This is all the evolution of printing press as we see today. If you just visit any major printing press, you will come to know how the printing has evolved. And you can also visit some of the areas like Old City or Secunderabad, where still letter presses are there for smaller jobs like wedding cards, then some screen printing. A small room of 6 into 6 is enough for screen printing business, and a small room of place of 10 into 10 is enough for a conventional, a traditional kind of letter press. But if you look at the modern, like Pragati printers in Lakdi Kapul area or in your own town, go to any major printing press, you will understand how the printing has evolved. And what is the role of typography? Typography is the art of and technique of printing with movable type. Typography is the art and technique of arranging types to make written language most appealing to learning and recognition. The arrangement of type involves selecting typefaces, as I already told you, the point size, the line length, line spacing, letter spacing, and adjusting the space within letter pairs. Type design is a closely related craft, sometimes considered part of typography. In modern times, typography has been put in film, television, and online broadcasts to add emotion to communication. Typography uses typefaces and the white space around and through them to create a whole design. And if you look in today's digital landscape, more than ever, people are aware of typography, design, and how the world looks around them. Typography is performed by typesetters, compositors, typographers, graphic designers, art directors, comic book artists, graffiti artists, clerical workers, and everyone else who arranges type for a product. Typography traces its origin to the first punches and dies used to make seals and currency in ancient times. So, this is all about uh, typography. And specifically, we need to talk about certain things in typography. They are hyphenation. What is hyphen? Hyphen is a small dash between the words. Hyphenation is the addition of hyphen and at the end of lines to help prevent problems in readability or make justification look better. Then there are two particular words. They are called widows and orphans. You may be wondering why a widow and an orphan in printing technology, but they are technical. Every profession will have a different terminology. It is called jargon. We use jargonic language. Doctors have a language that is specific to them, that specific to their profession, that is jargon for others. Lawyers have a different language. They use a specific terminology and they are native to them, but for us, for others, it is a jargonic language. Similarly, there are words like widows and orphans. If you look at widow, a single word at the end of the column, the last right, bottom right, it is called widow. That word should not be left like that. A widow means husbandless. The same word, the same name is given to this particular. If a word is split and left at the bottom, extreme bottom right, it is called widow. So therefore, care should be taken that it should not be left like that, but it should be either brought forward to the next page, or the word which is left over will have to be taken back so that it doesn't look like a widow. Similarly, an orphan is a word, a single word at the beginning on the top left. So an orphan and widow, they should not be left like that. And there is another term called bleeding. Why a bleeding in printing technology? Bleeding means a text will run into the gutters. Gutter is nothing but a blank space between two pages or the margins. If some text or some visual or an illustration will encroach into the margins or into the gutter portion, then it is called bleeding. So these are all the terminology. There are several terms we should get acquainted with so that it becomes easy for us when somebody is talking about printing technology. If you don't know what is gutter, what is bleeding, what is the word like type face, type font, type uh, uh, point, then you will be in a fix, you will be in a jeopardy so that you don't understand what all these things are. And use of font for different kinds of works is very important. Uh, this is all about typography and um, get into the textbook or text material supplied to you. Then you'll understand what all these things are about. Now, in the next class, that is tomorrow, we'll be uh, discussing about production of house journals. That is lesson number 11, and also launching of house journals. How a house journal should be launched. What are the things to be taken care? And in production of house journal, what are the things required for producing a house journal? House journal is nothing but a newspaper as far as organization is concerned. And a newspaper will have 8 columns, and that is double demi in size, whereas a house journal is generally in the A4 size or A8 size, or sometimes a house journal can be of a tabloid size. So in editor outside is the PRO inside. A PRO is an editor as far as a house journal is concerned. So let us meet tomorrow. Till then, thank you and goodbye.